What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode. It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, certainly coming through once again with a brand new episode as we're here to go ahead and break down the newest episode of Black Lightning, or should I certainly say, Painkillers. We finally got the opportunity to go ahead and tackle the pilot for Painkiller, really hoping that at this point it winds up getting that spin-off so it can eventually have its own series at this point. But as of right now, it's still certainly up in the air. But this is actually our first glimpse into what the Painkiller series would certainly look like, to certainly say the least. So for me, it was kind of cool to see how this show kind of carried some of the Black Lightning storylines that we wind up having into this episode, specifically the Grace and Anissa stuff. Now, while you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of Anissa and Grace together, I'm just not the biggest supporter of just that relationship in general. Like it's just not that believable to me. For me to see them actually go on their honeymoon to a brand new location that we've never been introduced to before, I thought was actually pretty neat. Like I was thinking to myself, okay, Anissa, really going out of the way to impress the girlfriend, like very, high life sort of thing. I mean, the aesthetics on this show, from the lighting that they wind up having, some of the special effects and the visuals for this city. I think it's Akasi Valley or something like that. Maybe I could be wrong. I couldn't quite get the spelling or pronunciation of it, but I really like the new setting and just the new aesthetics overall. Honestly, it definitely gives that futuristic vibe for sure. I felt like I was watching a little bit of Alita Battle Angel or some type of crazy Japanese anime from back in the day, like just how they showcase their futuristic settings, all the neon lights and all the cool technology. We even saw like self-driving cars in here. We saw a telephone booth, if you will, that brings up like screen displays and things like that, so you can have your conversations in the middle of the city. I mean, just some really cool features and some special effects and new visuals that we've never really seen in Black Lightning before. But if this is going to be sort of the town that Painkiller protects or deals with his issues, I kind of dig it. I kind of dig it just visually how it looks. But it was really cool to see Anissa and Grace in here, and I'm actually glad that if out of all the characters that they could have brought over, I definitely wasn't ready for Jennifer and Khalil to certainly meet. So I probably would have either done with Anissa or even Jefferson himself. But this definitely made perfect sense in the sense of Grace and Anissa finally going on their honeymoon. And they just so happen. Nothing's coincidental, apparently, when it comes to the Painkiller show here. But it was pretty neat to find them and see how their stories wind up meshing together and just kind of bumping into each other, to say the least, especially based off of the fact of just how their relationship has been over the past couple of years in Black Lightning, right? That strained relationship that Anissa has with Khalil, never quite trusting him ever since, like season 2 or whatever the case may be, right? So Anissa has definitely carried over a lot of that animosity for Khalil over the past couple of seasons. So for it to be her, I thought was actually pretty telling. And I thought also it was a really great eye-opener here for Anissa to kind of see a different side of Khalil. I mean, granted, she is introduced in this episode to Painkiller sort of right off the bat, so she definitely immediately has that sort of bad taste in her mouth. But I'm glad at least as to how she handled herself when she actually came through, right? I'm kind of open to the idea of at least listening to Painkiller or listening to Khalil. Maybe not fully trusting him right away until he actually did help save Grace towards the end of this episode, but at least not getting ready to just Anissa smash on everybody, right? And just like not want to talk about anything. So I really love just those moments that we had between Khalil and Anissa, just because it is that long time connection from his past, and just to kind of see her having some faith in him, like, hey, the idea at the beginning in this episode, he was kind of hesitant to have to even chase after Grace, right? The idea of being a hero wasn't really on his resume at that time, but the idea that she's like, look, you've got all this power and all this ability and all this money and this tech, you're just literally just going to sit around and not do anything. Put it to good use, prove to me that you can be a better person than that. So I am glad that he's kind of dabbled in the idea of saving people's lives now. And so maybe we will get a little bit more of a heroic aspect to Khalil going forward if we in fact do get his spin-off series in the future. But I thought that was just a really great connection and callback to the Black Lightning series in general. I will say this, Jordan Calloway really impressed me in this episode. He truly did. While overall the episode was okay, I definitely enjoyed it. I don't necessarily know if it punched me in the face or absolutely floored me to where I was like, I need a Painkiller miniseries now. But I will say, I still feel like I would like to get a Painkiller spin-off series for sure, because this episode at least did leave me with some great cliffhangers, some really great moments, some further character development that I really want to see explored with Khalil. And so speaking of Jordan Calloway, just his performance as Khalil in here, not just Khalil, but also as Painkiller, the idea that he's still sort of struggling with himself, that, I don't want to say that inner demon, but his inner self, if you will, right? The side that Agent Odell sort of brought to the forefront. And so we did learn in here from one of his other supporting characters, I think Philip, I can't remember his name now, but we did learn that, at least in here, that Painkiller was subsided for about a year or so, right? He hadn't really come up to try and take control of Khalil's body or anything like that. So they did a pretty good job of keeping him dormant for the most part. So that lets you know that Khalil has spent a lot of time not only acquiring the hidden ASA money and using it for himself, but clearly buying a bar, right? Putting a lab together, getting all the tech and stuff. I mean, the guy has definitely been spending his time wisely for him as a character to certainly build himself up. I mean, all the stuff that he's certainly learning. We see some of the books that he's reading, at least when we're in his mindscape, if you will, while he's talking to his other self. You really do feel as though like Khalil has certainly grown up and he's gotten his head on his shoulders a lot better since the last time that we certainly saw him. So it's great to see Khalil in that mindset. But I love just seeing Khalil battle himself. The back and forth between him along with Painkiller I thought was great. Trying to get a better understanding of the mindset of Painkiller side. Pretty cool idea that they wind up actually giving him a different sounding voice, right, that kind of allow us to help us decipher between the two characters, if you will. But I love those sentimental moments between those, that struggle of who's going to control who, right? That compromise that we wind up getting of, hell, you help me clear out this building sort of thing, and I'll take over at the end sort of thing. The understanding of we can't kill the Pierces, let's not try and do any bloodshed sort of thing. If things do get kind of crazy though, I'll go ahead, I'll tag you in type of thing. So I like the battle of just the back and forth and the compromise here, because we clearly get to see that even though Painkiller has been dormant for the past year, he clearly is still very much activated in that kill order that Agent Odell sort of put inside of him. So anytime he sees a Pierce now, that's one of the reasons why he wind up attacking Anissa in the beginning of this episode here, putting her under, because it's that kill order. And honestly, if it wasn't for Khalil, he probably would have killed her. But in that particular moment, I love the fact that we kind of jump into his mind and really see sort of that battle between who gets to possess the body and things like that. So another fight showdown and things like that. We even got to see a more of an emotional side of Painkiller, even suggesting the idea of suicide or killing himself, not maybe being able to make it out of the building alive or whatever the case may be. And then getting to see Khalil have to really, get him focused again. He's like, look, I don't want to die. Like, we're connected. If you're trying to die, you're going to kill me also, buddy. So we really have to kind of work on this push and pull sort of relationship. So that really fascinates me. And that's one of the aspects of Painkiller and Khalil I would love to see explored in his own spinoff series, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we do get one. I truly, truly am. But you gotta understand why I'm a little bit skeptical, I thought we were definitely going to get ourselves a Green Arrow and the Canaries. If there was any spinoff, I thought we were going to get, it was going to be Green Arrow and the Canaries, just based off of how big Arrow certainly was at the time and how much time they spent in building up Mia Smoke, and we still didn't get anything, right? So considering the fact that while I enjoyed this episode, it still felt a little bit weird for me personally, because there are a lot of new characters in here that I'm not familiar with, and I feel like we're kind of jumping into the story without any real background on a lot of these people. I think they did a pretty good job in trying to at least give us some origin stories or backgrounds to some of his supporting characters in here. You know, I think he's got 2 people that are working with him in his lab or in his command center, if you will. One gentleman that was speaking with Anissa, I really do like him. His past, I believe he said he was like an ex-Marine or something like that. The other gentleman, the bartender, I might have to kind of come around to him a little bit more in the future, but we'll see. There were just so many supporting characters. I didn't really know who to like, who not to like, who to get attached to, and things like that, right? So it definitely had that sort of weird vibe for me, but I still enjoyed aspects of it for sure. We got introduced to what could potentially be one of his upcoming villains in Mia, I believe it is. The idea that she's kind of doing this cryptic hacking of people's brains. Not quite sure exactly what she's doing, but Khalil seems to think that maybe they could use that technology that she's using in order to help him figure things out between him along with Painkiller. But what really creeped me out and what really just completely got me was the end of this episode where we see that Mia or Maya has her father gets introduced to us at the very end, and it's Agent Odell. It's Agent Odell. This guy's still alive. He's still kicking. You got to know he's pissed off about Khalil putting one in his back, or a couple in his back. If you recall, that's how he wound up leaving Agent Odell in the hands of Jefferson Pierce after he wound up getting out of the back of the car. Blah, 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 right in his back and things like I shot him in the spleen. He should be all right if you take him to the hospital or something like that. But it's pretty crazy to see Agent Odell back and then know that this guy has a son. Like, what kind of evil seed have you created, Agent Odell? And it seems as though his work is not done. You know, the fact, her line of the idea of this not being things aren't coincidence. I'm thinking to myself, you set this up the entire time, didn't you? Like, you must have known that Khalil was gonna be there, or whatever the case may be. I have no idea, but man, talk about coincidental, right? I mean, so now Khalil not only has to worry about Mia, but he also has to worry about Agent Odell, who is in fact her father. So some crazy stuff, some really great revelations. And I got to say, the action, man, the action is killer. Jordan Calloway really needs to be in just movies, in some action-packed movies. There were just remnants of like John Wick in here at times. I felt like I was watching The Raid at times. I mean, the action was just off the charts. Whoever the stunt choreographer is, or stunt coordinator and fight choreographer, they do an amazing job with Jordan Calloway. And just to see the differences between him and Painkiller fighting, visually, it was stunning, to certainly say the least. So there are some really great aspects of this episode that I certainly enjoyed, but I think a lot of my hesitation comes from all the newness that we've been introduced to. Like, this did not feel quite like a Black Lightning episode. I kind of was hoping for maybe a little bit more depth in regards to the plot details and things like that, but maybe they're holding off a lot. I mean, there's plenty more, I'm sure, to learn about these characters once we actually get into a full-fledged series, but there was so much newness and questions that I had about so many of these supporting characters and new storylines we were getting into, that it kind of took me out of it from time to time. But I really at least focused on the stuff that definitely appealed to me: the great aesthetics, some of the solid visuals, the futuristic aspect that we're getting here, great camera angles, incredible performance by Jordan Calloway, that intimate push and pull between Khalil and Painkiller that just sinks me into it, the connections with the past, Black Lightning characters with Anissa and Grace, which I'm pretty sure I would not be surprised if they do pop up from time to time in the Painkiller series itself, but we'll definitely have to see how things wind up progressing. But villains, check. I mean, yeah, man, I would definitely go ahead and take a Painkiller series, but be honest with you, I'm not gonna get my hopes up at this point, because I got my hopes up last time for Green Arrow and the Canaries, and was highly disappointed. So we'll see. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you, Jordan Calloway. I truly am. I want to see I definitely want to go ahead and see you shine. So I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think. Did it work for you? Did it fall flat? Are you excited for a Painkiller series? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts, guys. Again, while I certainly enjoyed it, I don't think it floored me, but I'm kind of curious to know what you guys thought. And do you think this certainly will earn Painkiller his spin-off series? Go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And Black Lightning is back, baby. So next week, we will definitely have a brand new episode of Black Lightning to go ahead and sit down and talk with you guys about. But in the meantime, do me a big favor. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and until next time, keep it A+. I'll talk to you later. Bye.